All right, we're ready, guys?
Ready.
This is the crap guide to Final Fantasy XIV tanks. JoCat's, supposedly good guides. Someone saying they're funnier, though? They're funny, I guess. All right. Here we go. You ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's
You guys
do
got
it.
your cocos, hot cocos?
I have coffee.
Oh, they're meme guides. Okay. So then are they good? Are they good guides, like good for like information-wise, or are they just entertaining? Well, I guess we'll find out. There we go. Oh, it says right here, disclaimer. Maybe I should read the disclaimer. The meant as a joke is not at all super serious, in-depth guide, blah, blah, and any jab that's thrown at anyone's blah, 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 are merely for comedic purposes. All right, so it's funny. All right, so it's funny.
Yay!
All right.
It's a funny guy.
All right, we'll see. All right, let's watch them. This one's crap guide on tanks. Little backstory about JRox. I've been tanking since the dawn of MMOs. EverQuest 1, raid tank, raid leader. Played basically every MMO. Raid tanked in like many of them. So long time tank. Let's check out what he says.
I'm excited.
What up, warriors of fartness? I bet you don't have the slightest clue how to play this eyeball-melting anime game. Oh, sure, you probably know that you can beat up enemies by clicking on them until they die, but do you know how to find a static in your FC to help you prog uwu? I bet you don't even know what any of those words mean, so sit down, shut up.
All right, so... just on the top. So I make videos, too. So... this guy's really good. Like, if he's editing his own videos, this is top-notch stuff. They're really good. Really good. All right.
Up and eat your gissel greens, because I'm gonna teach you what thee mayhap not knoweth, thy noobliness. Welcome to a crap guide to Final Fantasy. The tank is the person in the front lines of every group, leading the charge to inevitable party wipes, which is because you are the most important person in the party, having slap fights with the boss since everybody else is way too squishy to handle the puss-pounding patty cake. You'll never see Jimmy's soft boots eyeing up the cloud of darkness with his 2x4 and scriggly tree branch. But how hard can tanking be? Turn on your tank stance, do your 1-2-3 combo, and blame the healers when you die, right? That sounds like somebody who needs their short Q privileges revoked. Firstly, tank stance. You turn this on to start gaining enmity. What's enmity? It's where you shout at the bad guys, "Hey, hit me!" They'll be paying attention to you so long as you're dealing damage, so you better be dealing damage and not just having a staring contest. If you don't, then they're going to start indiscriminately charging at the rest of the party like a dog in a movie theater. If you are the designated main tank, or in light parties the only tank, make sure this is on. If there is another tank in the party and you are the off tank, make sure this is off, unless there's some other bad guys you gotta pull. If you have conflicting stances with the other tank, they will chuck their shoulder pads at you. As a tank, you should make sure the bad guy's ass is facing the party as often as possible, as indicated by the bright glowing half-eaten donut underneath the target. This is so that if the bad guy sneezes, you're the only one getting down with the sickness. And also, if your party has anyone playing any jobs that particularly likes to clap them cheeks, you've provided a bright shiny spanking space. On top of this, as a tank, you are, by Heidelin's blessings, horrible at dancing, which is why you should move as little as possible once you've got the enemy's attention. That way the party can continue to whap the wumpus without having to chase down the bad guy's glorious booty. Just as well, because you have control of where the baddies are, you control how useful everybody else is. So if somebody puts down a useful AoE, stop fucking running away from it! Now that you have the baddie's attention and are in a nice cozy poking position, you don't have to worry about anything else, right? Ah, that's what I thought you'd say, you dumb fucking horse. Believe it or not, when you die, it's not entirely the healer's fault, just mostly their fault. That little bit of responsibility you have is based on how well you can juggle mitigation. What's mitigation? It's the buttons that make the bad guy's slaps hurt less that you sometimes press once a subscription and never think about again. You ever wonder why you have several of those buttons that all seem like they do the same thing? Well, that's because you're supposed to space them out over the course of a fight so the healers don't have to sacrifice their entire mana pool and firstborn child to get your frail ass through the dungeon. Remember not to bust your tanking load all at once, or else you're gonna feel a lot of shame when you're all out of juice and the boss still wants to go about 4 more rounds. Every tank also has a press X to not die button that can be used to survive any devastating attacks, or if you're a really aggressive paladin who drew every enemy in a dungeon ever and don't want the healer to hire a hitman on you. As for what your limit break does, tanks are thicker than the average Disney mom, to the point your honky chonky donkey bahonky extends to the rest of the party, protecting them from damage up to a whopping 80% at LB3. The thing is, unless you're a high-end player, you'll probably be using tank LB as frequently as a good player rolls high on loot. Overall, you have 4 flavors to choose from: punk, grunge, metal, and Christian rock. There's warrior for big axes, big anger, big self-healing, and if you like to do fell cleaves again and again and again and again. If you prefer more brooding than cruding, the Dark Knight is great for doing your best guts impression. You get a huge-ass sword, goopy black energy particle effects, and the literal best mitigation in the entire game, but it's balanced because they get the worst invulnerability button in the entire game. You press it, and then it makes you die. Gunbreaker is called a tank, but everybody knows it's just 3 DPS in a trench coat, as designated by the fact you get a fucking gun and your swings explode. Or you have to be a hardcore gamer, since it requires a lot of cartridges. And finally, the Paladin, who tries to pretend they're a healer and caster, but only when the other healers and casters are looking. But fuck all that, because the most important thing is that you get the motherfucking sword and shield, baby! Try getting behind this wall of holiness, bitch! Now you know how to play tank, you're welcome.
Yo, that was condensed too, man.
Oh my god.
That was a lot of stuff in three.
That was amazing. Wow.
Almost 4 minutes.
That was amazing.
Oh my god. All right, what's the next one? The crap guide to healers. All right, crap guide to healers. Let's go.
I love power, and I love feeling powerful. It strokes my biggly wiggly and forces lesser beings to bow down to my awesome might, lest they taste my boot between their gums. Nothing has ever given me the same rush of adrenaline than knowing that everybody has to
Divinity longtime healer. You gotta let us know if this is accurate or not.
submit to my whims for their own safety. It makes my brain do the goody-good chemicals and allows me to feel as though I have control over this truly unfortunate reality that the universe is slowly careening into an eventual heat death, and there's nothing anybody can do about it as we are inconsequential specks in this cruel and uncaring universe. But none of that matters, because look at this, I can pull my party members into a pit that kills them. I find that hilarious. Welcome to a crap guide to Final Fantasy.
Yo.
The greatest power of all is the power to have control over people's lives, which is why the healer is the most likely party member to have a god complex. Right behind main tanks, mentors, and anybody who's an omnicrafter. You are the most important person in the party, as you, along with the tank, are responsible for keeping the party alive by kissing their boo-boos and slapping the bitch who made the boo-boo. That's right.
Have you seen this before, Joe Storms? I've not seen this before. Pint does really good 14 meals, but some of his might be spoilers. Okay, yeah, I don't want to see any spoilers for sure. That's why the only thing I saw so far is no clip documentary. That's it, basically.
Right, as a healer, you do have to deal damage as well. Man, but it's called a healer, and healers are supposed to heal, right? Wrong! A healer's job is not necessarily to heal the party, but rather to keep them alive. And yes, there's a difference. There's going to be a lot of downtime between heals, and you bet your afflatus rumpus that you're making the fight take longer than it has to if you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for your next chance to cast
Divinity's always been a DPS healer. Always.
Or what do you do when the party's full health? What do you do when the party's full health? Or even halfway up and standing? DPS the bad guys. No, I don't pay your sub. But when the fight takes too long, it starts to rub all up on everybody's nerves. And when you hit endgame, it serves you right. When the boss will wipe the party, cause you couldn't beat and rage. Sure, you're for the most part keeping the party alive with a variety of healing, utility spells, some regen, some shields. But an equal amount of time you're casting those, you're also throwing in some extra DPS when time allows. Remember, DPSing is just mitigating future damage. And if you're able to kill the current wave of dungeon mobs before they deplete the tank's HP, which by the way is going to regen to full by the time you reach the next mob pull anyway, what does it matter how low their HP gets? So yes, DPS when time allows. When does time allow? Well, I know you're scared of independence and thinking by yourself, but that's going to be a balancing act you'll have to figure out. However, my rule of thumb is the minimum amount of HP a party member has to be at is 1. But if that's too scary-wary for your whittle fingies, ask yourself, will the enemy's next attack make your party member fall on their ass? If yes, heal so that it doesn't. If no, time to become a glare mage, motherfucker. As long as they're alive and you're clearing the content, you're doing your job right. There is one caveat to doing your job right, and that's that everybody will hate you for it. Literally, by healing you start to generate a lot of aggro from the bad guys, so if you ever decide to heal before mob pulls in dungeons, it's important to stick close to the tank like an ERPer sticks to Vieira's wearing 2B thigh highs. Especially if you throw on a regen and suddenly 800 mobs crash through the wall with a How to Fry Fairies cookbook. You can still do it, but you should know what you're getting into. Like live streaming and hoping that anybody will watch. As for your limit break, we heard you like healing, so we put more healing in your healing so you can heal while you heal. Unfortunately, you won't be using any limit break aside from LB3 because LB1 and 2 just heal the party, and you already have plenty of band-aids and popsicles to do that on your own.
LB3's so good. SK's already busted it a couple times, man. Like big time, save everything.
My moment.
the big boss at the end of Coils, the first turn, we were all like dead except for SK. Bang.
Yeah, I didn't even know what that was when he hit.
Yeah, I thought I was like getting ready to wrap up for another time.
I was like, why am I alive right now?
Is so potent in healing it resurrects everybody in the party back from the dead instantaneously. But they will have to do the thriller afterwards, so it's best to be safe for when you at least have enough people to make a backup dancing crew. For the flavors of healer, we have 3 boomers and the new kid on the block who bought a Glock and has a TikTok. The white mage is the most straightforward. You heal when a buddy is hurt and you attack when they're not. Just about everything in your arsenal is all about feeding them so much it'll make an inflation artist blush in embarrassment. You're also equipped with the best AoE skill in the entire game and the ability to never run out of mana unless you're really, really bad. Best of all, when your buddies get hurt, you can heal them to harness their blood for the blood lily. But let's say you want to play white mage, but you like tarot readings and star signs like a suburban woman in her mid to late 20s. Astrologian is probably for you. You draw cards that will enhance the abilities of your party members, and you fill the arena with enough space dust and constellations that you'll need 5 layers of sunglasses to see. Taking this job will also teach you how to build a bomb. Don't worry, it's
Boom.
friendly. Scholar is a weirdo who used to hang out with all the bad DPS kids,
Scholar,
but
that's
decided to
Divinity's
turn their life around when they met a
main
nice
right
girl
now.
who supports them in their new hobby. Only problem is she
Not right
knows
now,
nothing
but
about your hobby, and you have to
normally,
keep
man.
correcting her on fandom trivia. They're all about putting shields and defensive buffs that protect the party from taking damage in the first place. That way they can guess what? DPS even more. Also, your girlfriend can get thick. And finally, the new kid on the block, the Sage. A scholar who decided to stop
Sage
being nice and
looks
pick up a
cool. I
gun.
think you
That
like
shoots
Sage.
lasers! Like Scholar, they also
Lasers.
put shields and protective buffs on their party members so they can spend more time shooting lasers! How do they do this? After seeing Alphino change to the job, my guess is the Nullists are liquefied carbuncles. Rest in peace, Carby. And now you know how to play healer. You're welcome.
Oh, he's got D&D guys? Holy shit. Hold on. Pause. What did you think? Divinity Healer main for like
What did I think?
decades now. That was hilarious.
It was super hilarious and an amazing, amazing guide, and really, yeah, it was really good. I loved it.
Tanks, healers,
so funny.
DPS, melee DPS, range DPS, man. All right, so you know what we'll do? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll watch the DPS one and then watch these other 3 later or something. How's that sound? Watch one more.
Yeah, of course. We love advice.
That's hilarious. Jay, have you seen this before?
It is like so funny.
All right, let's try the DPS one, and then we'll stop there.
Everybody
for now.
likes to do damage, and don't
All right,
pretend like you
damage.
don't, because I know you're lying. Otherwise, why would you be playing an RPG with core mechanics such as leveling up, getting stronger, and looking fashionable as fuck? It's to do massive numbers on the other guys until their numbers are so small they match the PP size of anybody who doesn't commend at the end of a duty. The other members leaving too quickly is no excuse. How do you expect to move quick enough to avoid AoEs if you can't even move quick enough to tell your allies they're doing a great job and that their glamour is sexy? Is that uncharacteristically nice of me? Maybe, but it means I get to steal the LB3 from the only melee in the group. Welcome to A Crap Guide to Final Fantasy.
Did he draw and animate these? I wonder.
Today I'm
looks
going to be
like
talking
it.
about
Yeah.
every
Or you
job.
had someone
That's
do
right.
it.
What, you thought only
Yeah.
the DPS have to DPS? Boy, I could slap you with my overflowing glamour dresser.
I think he's
Damage
doing
is the
all
name
these
of the game in
drawings
Final
himself,
Fantasy
that's what it
XIV,
looks
and the
like.
entirety of the game is designed
He
around
did?
everybody dealing it,
Good
including
job.
the tanks and the healers. If the DPS roles
a
are
great
contributing
video.
60% of the damage, tanks and healers are the ones who fill in the other 40. So if you don't contribute, you belong in the garbage chute. So don't get so hung up on the role names. Everybody is a DPS. What I mean specifically is that 1, not only is FF14 a cooperative game, which means anytime you waste is not only yours, but also anybody else in your party as well. And 2, every combat feature in FF14 is designed with dealing damage in mind. Healers and tanks get skills that actively promote doing more DPS. Hell, Sage is a healer whose skills actively benefit from doing DPS. And most
Oh,
importantly
cool.
of all, Enrage. Enrage is what happens when you overstay your welcome in a dungeon or boss arena and the residents have run out of things to talk about and are just really ready for you to leave so they can finally go poop without being worried that you're going to steal all their old DreamWorks DVDs. That is to say, you're either
Yeah.
forcefully kicked out or alternatively, they instantly murder you. How do you prevent this from happening? You murder them first, of course, and then you pop in a copy of Shrek 2 so you can watch the castle siege again. And guess what? The later and later in the game you get, the more and more frequent enrages start to appear. And they'll have more and more health too, so if somebody decides they just don't feel like they want to cooperate in this team game they decided to play, and now the boss has 1/8 of its health left and is about to destroy the entire universe, Princess Fiona isn't going to be the only one who
Yeah,
will...
so enrages stop really sustaining groups from just out sustaining stuff. So you start seeing over the years enrages becoming more and more popular, particularly games where you got more of like a horizontal end game, like gearing kind of progression. You see a lot more enrages because otherwise you could just build really sustaining with your group. Like we've done that sort
Yeah,
of stuff
for
before.
sure.
You just out sustain the
Outlast
fight.
'em.
Yeah, but you can't rely on that. So if they put in some sort of hard enrage, then you have to like trade out sustain and mitigation for damage to start beating.
We'll need a hero. Hopefully
Yeah,
it's
the
been
longer
drilled
you
in your
last,
head
the
now
more
that
mechanics
DPSing is essential, not
understand.
just for the jobs with the title sticker, but also anyone in a fancy robe or edgy trench coat as well. Now that you know that, how does one go about dealing max deeps? The first most basic thing is to do
Max
your combos.
deeps.
Press a button. See another button light up? Press that one. Congratulations, you have successfully completed a combo. And doing so will reap a myriad of benefits, from putting damage over time on your target, gaining mana, doing your taxes, or any variety of other additional effects. But mostly, it all achieves the same goal of dealing more damage. Secondly, you want to press these skills that the game labels as abilities abilities and the community calls off-global cooldowns, or OGCDs for short. More like OGCDs nuts! I personally call them free damage buttons. They cost you nothing and there's literally no reason not to press them while your normal cooldown is rolling. But this one has a long cooldown. What if I need it later? No, it doesn't. Shut up. The cooldowns in this game are so short you might as well press them because by the time you need them again, whoop, they're back up. Not to mention, many jobs require you to press those free damage buttons to unlock even spankier damage buttons. So use your goddamn free damage buttons. It's free damage! The next rule of DPSing is knowing your ABCs. Always be casting! This means mashing away at your keyboard like a tickle monster working double time. More specifically, it means that the best way to make sure you are doing the most damage that you can is to always have your global cooldown going. Even if it means accidentally pressing the wrong skill like the single brain cell that you are. Because if you're always pressing buttons, even the suboptimal one, you are doing more damage than if you weren't. And doing damage is always better than not doing damage. Yes,
True.
even Skaith. Here's a live example with my two subjects, Jan and Chloe. They both deal 1
like
million
these
damage
little,
and suddenly the
paper
boss flies out
characters.
of melee range. Jan sits there waiting patiently for the boss to return before she can start doing a million damage again. Meanwhile, Chloe's pressing the deal 1 damage at a range button the entire time they're waiting. I ask you, puny viewer, which person is dealing more damage right now?
Yeah, but it's only 1 damage.
Who's dealing more damage?
As if any fight is going to get so close that dealing with—
Who is dealing more damage? Sure, it might not look like much, but it's going to matter when they fight the boss that has 3,000,002 health and they wipe all because the other DPS decided they don't want to press buttons. It's such little DPS, it won't make a difference? Sure, Jan. Now, one of the best things you should do to improve your damage in Final Fantasy XIV is this. It's really simple. I want you to lean in. It's a super simple thing. Here, come close. I'm gonna say the thing. Are you ready? Okay, here it goes. Read your tooltips! The little block of text that literally tells you what your skills do. Honestly, you would be surprised how many people queue into an expert dungeon and never realize they have a skill that can attack multiple targets. Even all the things I tell you in this video, the combos, the range attacks, the AoE damage skills, the free damage buttons. The best way to know what your job is capable of is by reading your job skill tooltips yourself. So you better read your goddamn tooltips because if I see another player not knowing about their AoE combo and a mob pull at level 80, I'm gonna grab the nearest aetherite and bash you so hard you're gonna be teleported to the final resting place of every ERPer's used undergarments. With all that out of the way, you'd think I'd covered everything you need to do to be an ultimate clearing badass, right? Unfortunately, not, Waffle Face, because the final responsibility every single role in Final Fantasy XIV shares is not dying. Oh sure, the healers help, but most of the time your own survival is on you and only you. And that means making sure you do the fight mechanics and don't take avoidable damage like it's got the cheese touch. Oh, I'm sorry, are you in the middle of your cast? You wanna try and hit that purple parse like the big man you are? That's too damn bad! Each time you take damage that is avoidable, it means the healer has to heal you and they're dealing less damage. And on top of that, you get this cheese puff called a vulnerability stack. For each stack you have, you take more and more damage until you get one shot when the enemy farts in your general direction. All this to say, if you don't avoid enemy damage, you will not only make the healer do less DPS, but you're also likely going to die, which means 0 DPS. And if you still think that's not a big deal and the healers can just res you, each time you die, you get a dunce cap of shame that reduces your DPS even more for about as long as a red light in Philadelphia. So you better stay alive or else I'm gonna raise you so I can rescue you into an AoE and kill you myself. To recap, everybody's DPS matters. Press your free damage buttons. Always be casting. Read your tooltips. Stay alive. But even if you keep all those things in mind, the #1 rule to improve your DPS performance is to practice. Striking dummies are all over the goddamn place, out in the overworld, and even in the yards of some random people's houses in the residential districts. So if you see one, there's no shame in whacking it a few times like you're auditioning to be a dominatrix. I'm sure the neighbors won't mind. Practice makes perfect, and even all the foresight in the world will not fully translate into the doing. So go and do that doing so that one day you too can do the do and make everybody else look like doo-doo because of how good your doing skills are. And with how much doing you'll be doing, maybe someday you too can clear an ultimate and get a shiny-ass weapon of your own to show off to people AFKing at the Limsa Aetherite Plaza. Just know the difference between an amateur and a master is that a master has failed way more times. By the way, get ready for a party wipe. Wait, what? Congratulations, you're now better at the game than you were 5 seconds ago. Oh! And now you know how to DPS, you're welcome.
Those are good, man, because they're funny and, like, yeah, you're right. Like, there's, like, good info in there, too.
It's awesome.
That was good shit.
It was.
All right, well, yeah, we'll watch the rest of these later. The rest of them are a little bit
sounds like
longer. It looks like 20 minutes worth of little ones.